Your Beautiful Rewrite. Written by Cheyenne Ada, 141. Otherwise Me. Cover art is mine, I made it myself. The Gotcha Club designs of Judai/Jaden and Johan/Jesse was made by Haim of Shyness. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX belongs to Konami. OCs, original characters, belong to me as well. Main shipping/pairing is Spirit Shipping and Dark Spirit Shipping. There are other pairs, but they aren't the main focus. Japanese names would be used. Summary. Love is something uncontrollably, but is given freely. Link for story will be in the description if you guys want to read it for yourselves. Warning. Yaoi gender bent, just for 2 characters. Cussing, mentions of death. Inspired by my OG work to make it better and a few YouTubers and fanfic writers.
Chapter 2. The Night Before. Next to Turkey is an area called the Black Sea, which was close to an ancient ruined city with people wearing black capes were hurriedly trying to get rid of stone tablets before anyone could find them, or even try to make sense of what was actually written upon them. Their leader had wanted them gone before anyone with a brain cell could figure them out first. These stones had writings dating all the way back to the times of an ancient civilization counted to ancient Greece's long-forgotten past, when it used to have a giant powerhouse and there was a prophecy proclaiming the gentle darkness would soon return and much, much more. But a few were unmovable because they were too heavy for the people moving them and they couldn't be removed due to a deadly curse, which a few dumb people in the group found out the hard way, much to their leader's pure disgust. Once they had tried to remove tablets, the shadows would leap at them and they would disappear in only seconds. So their leader told them to just scratch out important text instead so no one would be able to figure out what it had originally said. They couldn't finish their work because helicopters were spotted coming their way and they had to get out of there quickly before they were spotted. They quickly left with what they could and 2 out of a few deadly cursed ones were left untouched. Most of them had left but a few stayed behind hiding in the shadows before the first helicopter had even landed, letting the first person off the helicopter, which was a very young handsome man with black long hair, and was wearing a nice white suit. The next few people were another man with brunette hair and wore black clothing with a long white trench coat which had 2 silver letters in said white trench coat, which were the letters KC, which stood for Kaiba Corporation. Another man came out after the one with the white trench coat. He wore leather black pants and shirt, with a faded dark blue jacket. His hair defied the laws of gravity and was star-shaped with blonde bangs that looked like lightning strikes that framed his face nicely with one going down between his eyes.
Kaiba, why did you drag me all the way out here to ancient Greece in the middle of creating my next game?
He questioned as he followed after the 2 others. The taller of the 2 didn't answer, but the smaller one did.
Because, Yugi, we need your help. We found some stones with hieroglyphs, and we noticed some people have been destroying them, and we need someone who could decipher what they say quickly before they can all be destroyed, and luckily, you were the most available person we could find at such short notice.
The youngest male explained as they walked to broken tablets and ones which have certain words blanked out, and there were a few which have been untouched by whoever was destroying the tablets. Yugi went towards the tablets carefully and noticed that a few had very tiny writing which had curses upon them, so he was more careful around those and took a notebook and pencil from his backpack he had brought with him and started to write everything he read from the stone tablets to the notebook paper minus the curses. He didn't even dare to add any of the curses to his notebook because then the notebook would be cursed. Kaiba and his little brother watched as Yugi did his job, not wanting to interfere with his work once he was in the zone. Yugi wrote everything he could down and put what he had gotten down back into his backpack.
You done yet?
The ever-impatient Seto Kaiba asked, and Yugi just nodded his head and was about to walk towards them with his backpack in hand, when all of a sudden Yugi was suddenly surrounded by a group of men in white robes.
You're not going anywhere. Host of the Nameless Pharaoh, we're not letting you go with that information.
One of the men spoke to Yugi, and Yugi glared at the man before throwing his backpack towards Kaiba's direction, who luckily caught it.
Take it and go. Don't worry about me. Just take Makuba and go.
He shouted towards Kaiba, who looked like he was torn in between a decision, but he grabbed his brother and reluctantly fled with Yugi's backpack in hand.
No, get him. The master will be angry if we let him go.
The same man that spoke earlier shouted out again to the others who chased after Kaiba. Yugi took that opportunity to pull out his phone to message Judai a warning before he could send it his phone taken and smashed to pieces.
We aren't having any of that. Little host of the Pharaoh, even if we don't get that bag from that man, we can present you to the boss as a gift for letting them get away.
Yugi tried to retort back, but a cloth was pressed over nose and mouth from behind. Yugi's brain started to fuzzy until he blacked out. Before blacking out, he prayed that Kaiba and Makuba had gotten away safely. Chapter 3. When they arrived at the Kaiba building, Johann parked his car in a free parking space. There were other cars there, but only two he had recognized. One was the fancy black Jaguar, which was Manjome's, and the other was Asuka's red Honda Civic. Her brother Atticus, who loved to visit her on occasion, was most likely had came with her. Jim and Hasselberry got out of his car before he did, and they walked silently towards the building, already having talked about what they needed to say to each other on the way there to catch up. When they entered, a young-looking woman with medium fit build, long black hair, and honey golden eyes greeted them with a small bow. "Master Kaiba is waiting for you within his office. Please follow me, sirs," she replied kindly with a small smile. Johann and the two young men nodded silently in agreement before following after the woman and got in an elevator together. It took a few minutes of silently waiting inside of an elevator before they were greeted with the sight of two grand oak doors with a blue-eyes white dragon etched into the oak doors that looked handmade. When they entered the room, they noticed that everyone looked very tense and nervous about something besides Mr. Kaiba himself, who was looking through some notebook paper when they had entered. When they took their seats on the only empty couch, Mr. Kaiba finally looked their way and closed the notebook before turning to everyone else before he got down to business.
Let's get straight down to business.
He started as he turned off the lights with a click of a button on his desk, and a TV appeared on one of the walls.
We luckily got everything that happened yesterday on video from my hidden cameras. You all are going to watch it before we discuss what happened any further.
The video played for them, and all of them were completely shocked at what they saw as strangers had kidnapped the King of Games by surrounding him, and all Yugi could do was throw his bag at Mr. Kaiba, and as soon as Mr. Kaiba and his brother managed to get away, the video cut off. No one spoke for a while since their brains were trying to understand the events of the said video, but not Johann. His mind went straight towards the tablets with ancient writing that looked oddly familiar to him, though he didn't even know why, since he couldn't even read the text upon them. Ruby appeared beside him, visible to everyone, and his friends were shocked at the sight of her. But he paid them no mind and focused purely on Ruby, who was trying to tell him something but couldn't, since all that came out from her tiny mouth was small mews.
Mr. Kaiba.
Johann says after noticing that Ruby kept looking at the notebook on Mr. Kaiba's desk.
Can I have a look through that notebook?
Mr. Kaiba looked at him intensely for a good few seconds before nodding his head. Johann got up carefully and walked over to the desk, picking it up to look through it cautiously. As Johann went through the contents, his brain started to hurt, but he ignored it as he continued to read everything that had been written by the king. As read, his eyes turned dark orange, which didn't go unnoticed by the others. He couldn't stop the feeling of rage running through him as he read the notebook. Everything in this seemed way too familiar to him. It was about the Supreme King Hao, or rather the king's real gender, which was that of a female rather than male, with the context of what was within the notebook. It explained in great detail that the king, well, queen, had died, and that everything that had the queen as female was turned into a male to erase the queen's true history. The death of the queen in the notebook was pure disgusting, and Johann had to hold himself back from throwing the notebook across the room in rage. There was something about a reincarnation promise between the queen and her unknown lover, and a prophecy about something that his mind wasn't too focused on right now. Jim had to take the notebook from Johann gently before he could destroy it by accident in his sudden fit of rage.
Johann.
Asuka's calm voice come from behind him, and had placed her hand on his shoulder, which made him glare at her with his now dark orange eyes, and she kept her calm even though the other could explode at any of them at any moment.
Why don't you go relax and sit next to Hasselberry for a bit?
No, I need air.
He wanted to see Judai so badly right now. He had so many questions for Yubel and him about everything. He headed out the oak doors in a rush, ignoring everyone's pleas for him to stop, and Hasselberry and Jim followed right after him. He needed to calm down but didn't know to calm down while grouped up like that. He went over all the way back outside to his car and unlocked the back of the trunk to get out a bottle of water with Ruby on his shoulders. Jim and Hasselberry reached him just as he finished gulping down his third bottle of water.
Johann, you shouldn't drink that much water in one go.
Hasselberry tried to get the water from him to stop him from drinking it, but had failed as Johann finished it all in one go again.
Johann, I need to find Judai,
he said, slamming the back of his car's trunk closed.
Johann, we can't just leave.
Hasselberry was freaking out now, and Jim put his hand on Hasselberry's shoulder.
Is this decision because of what you read from the King's notebook?
Jim asked more calmly than what Hasselberry's voice was currently. Johann didn't say anything, but his face and silence said enough.
All right, will you wait for a while?
Johann nodded his head, and Jim smiled at him.
All right, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Hasselberry, you stay with Johann, so he doesn't do anything rash before settle things here.
With that, he went back into the Kaiba building.
Cobalt Eagle,
Johann called, and his hawk crystal beast appeared before him.
Hold up, Johann.
Hasselberry tried to keep Johann from sending one of his crystal beasts off before Jim could even get back.
Cobalt, we're gonna hunt Judai down.
He clearly was ignoring Hasselberry right now.
I want to try to find Judai, but don't go 40 feet away from me, and don't report back unless you see Judai, or for food, all right?
Yes, sir.
Cobalt put a wing to its head, saluting to him before flying off in the sky.
Johann, do you not understand the word patience?
Hasselberry sighed out but was sent a dark glare instead of an answer in return.
I guess not.
They stood outside the car, and Hasselberry tried to make small talk like before, but was unsuccessful since Johann obsessively wasn't even paying attention at all, pacing back and forth. It was very awkward, and Hasselberry was struggling to keep Johann from doing anything, silently begging Jim to come back soon because he couldn't handle this everlasting silence between him and Johann. It was a bit longer than 10 minutes. More like 2 hours later, when Jim finally came back with 3 large Kaiba Corporation backpacks that looked very much like hiking backpacks, Johann popped open his trunk for Jim to put them in. Jim held his hand out for Johann's car keys, and Johann was very reluctant to do so, but eventually gave them to Jim before getting into the back seat for the couple to sit together up front. Hasselberry watched as Johann got into the back seat, leaving the pair alone to talk to each other for a bit alone without Johann overhearing them.
So, what took longer than 2 hours than 10 minutes?
Hasselberry questioned his boyfriend, wanting to know what took him longer than promised.
It took longer because Mr. Kaiba wanted to talk to me privately about our project real quick, and making copies of the notebook wasn't easy either since Mr. Kaiba wanted everyone to have one.
He responded with a sigh.
Not only that, Mr. Kaiba wanted us to look for Judai regardless and figure out what is going on with Johann, since his eyes shouldn't have changed colors without being possessed by Yubel like before. Do you think it's an after effect of being possessed by Yubel?
Hasselberry questioned, glancing at Johann through the car's window with concern.
I thought the same thing at first.
Jim had his hand on his chin.
But Mr. Kaiba thinks differently, and it may be wise to ask Yubel about it, since they know more about the past than we do.
He opens the driver's side door.
But let's get going on our way to find where Judai is.
Many miles away, a 2-colored brown-haired brunette girl sneezed for the 5th time that day.
Yubel, I think I'm catching a cold.
Note I forget a lot that was done in Chapter 3, so when you guys get to 5, don't be too surprised. And I was trying something different this time, since I'm still getting used to all this.